Welcome to Saga Sessions, a show where we explore, analyze, and discuss our favorite stories. Today, we bring the MCU into Saga Sessions. That's right, Captain America Brave New World is out, and we saw it. Nick, who loves Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones,
big fan,
wanted to say a few words about the film, and you can watch him talk about it if you click on the card above. With that, John and I are here to do a deeper dive into the film. And right off the bat, there's going to be spoilers in this discussion. So I would recommend you go watch the film before watching this discussion.
Or if you don't care, that's fine. You can just watch it also.
That too. John, what did you think of this film?
I thought it was pretty fine. So for those who haven't seen it and are still here, I don't think you necessarily have to go watch it. It's pretty okay. It's pretty mid, as they say.
I agree.
What are your thoughts?
I agree. I went in with low expectations, and we're going to talk about why in just a second.
Yes, true.
And I walked out with a feeling of that was exactly what I expected.
Yeah, I feel like to comment on like the social people, like how people are judging things these days, I feel like a lot of times these days things are either like the greatest thing ever or just like absolute hot garbage. And so before going into this movie, I was hearing a lot of criticism that it was just like trash, like it was terrible.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this we're gonna be seeing like Thor 2: The Dark World levels of bad. When really,
oh no,
it's just kind of fine. It's just kind of fair. It's there. Like there's some parts that are really good. There's some parts that are pretty bad. Nothing is like amazing. Nothing's like absolutely terrible. It just plays it incredibly safe the entire time and like doesn't really do anything that interesting and just kind of limps its way to the finish line of being decent.
Well said.
Yeah. Which in some ways is worse than at least trying something cool and failing miserably.
Right.
Which I feel like we can also get into when we get into the next section that you're going to talk about.
Right. And that section is how we got to where we are today. I remember an age, a time,
if you will.
A time, if you will, when going to the movie theaters to see the latest Marvel film was an event,
Mm-hmm.
a time of excitement, a time of exhilaration, of looking forward to,
and a somewhat guarantee that it was going to be like
fun,
solid. Yeah.
Entertaining. Not that this film wasn't entertaining, but just, a fun time.
Someone who was there day one.
This guy was here day one to see Iron Man in theaters back in 2008?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been with the MCU since the beginning, day one in the theater with my dad, as we say. And so I've seen it throughout everything. And yeah, it's definitely fallen from where it used to be.
Avengers Endgame was peak Marvel cinema.
It's arguably the last, I want to say the last good MCU movie, but it was the last MCU movie that came out, and I feel like everyone was really on board, and everyone accepted that it was like a solid movie to some extent.
And then COVID happened.
Well, and then like their plot line that they had written, because they had like a pretty like well laid out plot up until that point, and after that I feel like they were just like, what do we do now? I don't know, something with a multiverse, except we hired an actor who is not a good person, so then we have to like
Kang the Conqueror,
kind of clean that up. Yeah, Kang the Conqueror.
Let's quickly review all of the films that have come out since Endgame.
Rapid fire.
We're not going to talk about the shows. I'll give
a whole other beast.
That's a whole other beast. I'll give my spiel on the existence of the shows later, but we're not going to go over the shows, just the movies. All right, so after Endgame came out in 2019, we got Spider-Man Far From Home, which was good.
Pretty good.
We were like, okay, the MCU will continue on and it'll be good stuff. Then COVID happened. We had to wait a long time for the next film, which turned out to be Black Widow in 2021, and that was horrible. That was really bad. After Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Was good.
Pretty good.
John and I reviewed that on our previous podcast, which might be available in the near future. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
After Shang-Chi, Eternals.
Eternals is what I was talking about when I said sometimes it's better to try something different and fail miserably, because Eternals did that, and while it's not good, I at least respect it for trying.
That's fair. Well, after Eternals, we had another fun film, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Also pretty solid.
Solid film. It might be the weakest of the Spider-Man trilogy,
Yes.
the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy,
Agreed.
but it's the most fun.
If you want to hear us talk more about that, let us know.
That's right. After that, John's favorite Marvel film, perhaps Doctor Strange in the Multiverse
Not
of
my favorite
Madness.
Marvel film. It's my favorite of the ones on this list that we're going through.
Okay.
It's my favorite post-Endgame movie.
So that was good. After that, we had Thor: Love and Thunder.
Disappointing.
A letdown.
Big letdown.
And then after that, another letdown. Wakanda Forever.
An excusable letdown because Chadwick Boseman died. And
Things happened behind the scenes. R.I.P. So, yes, they did the best they could with what they had at the last minute, maybe? Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Not very good. Bad.
Yep, also a dud. And then Guardians of the Galaxy
Banger
Volume
film.
3. That
Probably
was
objectively the best of the movies on this list.
good. That was good.
But also, the director is now in the DC universe, so that's rough. Sorry, Disney. You really fumbled the bag on that one.
Right. You gave him away. Now, I have to admit, I did not see the next film on this
Me
list,
neither.
The Marvels, back in 2023. I think I had checked out of Marvel at that point. Even though Guardians was good, I just was not interested in the characters who were being featured in the film, The Marvels.
Agreed.
So I was like, okay, odds are Marvel hasn't been putting out good content lately anyway, or I should say it's been a mixed bag at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll enjoy this film. I'm not going to see it. I'll wait till it comes out on Disney+. And I still never saw
I
it.
haven't gotten around to it yet.
And then after that, Deadpool and Wolverine.
It was fine.
I have an interesting experience with that film.
Oh, yeah.
I did go to see it, but the projector died halfway through the film, and we all had to leave.
You'll never know how it ends.
And I never picked the film up again. So I don't know how it ends, and that's my own fault. And I guess that is the most recent
And that
of
leads
the
us
MCU films.
into Captain America, Brave New World.
So that is why I said going into this movie I didn't expect anything great, because Marvel's been pumping out a lot of duds.
Correct. In both movie and TV shows.
And real quick, I said I wasn't going to talk about the TV shows in depth at least, but I don't like how you have to have watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier to understand Captain America Brave New World in its totality.
Correct. There's definitely a lot of... You also have to watch The Eternals. We don't have to, but in the film, it finally brings up, which is another thing that have beef with for like this generation of Marvel, is that there are so many things that are brought up in other movies that should clearly be a big deal that just like are never mentioned. And one of the biggest ones is at the end of Eternals, the what is it called? The Celestial, yeah. The Celestials coming out of the ocean, and it's like this huge giant thing. And up until this movie, which if I'm checking my notes here, Eternals came out in 2021 and it's now 2025. It took 4 years for any Marvel movie to mention the giant celestial being coming out of the water, which should be a pretty noticeable thing. And it's just now being brought up. So
this is true.
For basically every film up until now, in the back of my mind, I'm just like, when are we going to mention like literally anything that's been brought up? So I think it's good that it is being brought up, but it is something to be mentioned that there is other things you have to see going into this to kind of like fully get it, including the TV show and Eternals. And I don't know if you want to get into this now. One of my biggest like critiques, just interesting, is that this movie is barely a Captain America movie in a lot of ways. And this is like, I guess, the first biggish spoiler for anyone who's still around. It's kind of just a sequel to the Incredible Hulk movie from years and years ago.
Yes.
Like 15, maybe almost 20 years ago. But yeah, the one with Edward Norton in it, who is no longer in the MCU, obviously. But this movie is essentially a sequel to that, because at the end of that movie, we get the tease for the villain of this movie, where like some of Hulk's blood gets infected into what's his name? Tim Blake Nelson's character,
Dr. Samuel
Dr.
Stearns.
Samuel Stearns, whose name is like the leader in the comics. So we get the tease for that, and that has finally materialized into an actual thing. All of the 10 plus years later in this movie, where he is the main villain, and the main character of one of the main characters of the movie, who's Harrison Ford's character, he was also introduced in the Hulk movie, and now he's the main focus of this movie, and specifically his relationship with his daughter, who is also in the Incredible Hulk movie, played by Liv Tyler, right? Liv Tyler. So another callback to the Incredible Hulk movie. So if you're going into this movie not having seen the Incredible Hulk, or even it being fresh in your mind, you're not going to really understand everything that's going on to the extent that I think it expects you to. Because you didn't even know that it was...
Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead and share your experience with this. 'Cause I don't think he even knew during the movie that it was the main villain was a callback to Incredible Hulk.
That's true. Funny enough, without any knowledge that the Incredible Hulk would have ties to Captain America Brave New World, about 3 weeks before watching the new Captain America film, I said to my brother, we're both off this evening. Let's watch a Marvel film. And he said, which one? I said, I don't know. Let's scroll through Disney Plus and pick one. And we came across The Incredible Hulk, and I said, I haven't seen that in about 10 years. Let's watch it. Not a great film, in my opinion, but enjoyable enough.
It's fine.
And then we went to see Captain America Brave New World a few weeks later, and I thought, wow, what funny timing to have just revisited The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Even with having watched that movie, I didn't get all the callbacks.
To be fair, it's not a very memorable film, and the scene in question I think it is the post-credit scene of that movie, where it teases him being the main villain of, I guess, this movie 15 years later. I
don't even remember.
And there's no way for you to know that going in. I never would have expected going in that you should have seen this movie from 15 years ago that is barely talked about in any other MCU movie. The Incredible Hulk is kind of like the black sheep because they replaced Edward Norton with Mark Ruffalo at some point for whatever reason.
Also because, sorry to interrupt, but The Incredible Hulk, at a time when Paramount was producing and distributing the MCU films, The Incredible Hulk was distributed by Universal Pictures.
Yes.
So it was very much the black sheep of the MCU at that time. So even myself, back in the day, didn't even know it was part of the MCU until much later, probably when Avengers 1 came out, that I knew, oh, Mark Ruffalo is playing the same
Hulk that Edward Norton
Hulk that Edward Norton played, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I feel like that is a huge hit on this movie, is that if you haven't seen this movie, you're just not going to be as connected to the characters, because Harrison Ford's character, what is his name again?
Thaddeus Ross.
Yeah. So he's introduced in Incredible Hulk. Obviously, he's in some of the other MCU movies.
He's played by William Hurt.
Yes,
back
who
in
sadly
the day.
passed away, and now in this film is played by Harrison Ford, who does a great job, by the way. He does great. But if you haven't been following his character's plot, and because they focus so much in this movie on his relationship with his daughter, if you're not privy to that information or that relationship from Incredible Hulk, you're just not really going to care as much, or you're not going to be as connected to it. You're like, what? Because so much of it is oh, he lost this relationship with his daughter because they used to be really close, and so you could see that in the original movie. You could kind of see their original relationship, but if you haven't seen that, then you're just kind of left out to dry, because they don't even really show you any of it. It's just kind of told to you that hey, by the way, they used to have a good relationship. Hope you saw that other movie. If not, dang.
Yeah.
That's tough. So yeah, I think that's a big part. And it also goes into another, I think issue, but one of the questions that was really trying to be answered by this movie is the Falcon, formerly the Falcon, now Captain America, is he enough to replace the old Captain America? Because going into this movie, there's been a lot of questions around is Sam Wilson going to be able to carry a film by himself the same way that the old Captain America was? I'm forgetting his name for some reason. Bad names.
Oh, Chris Evans.
Yeah, Chris Evans.
Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Who is iconic. Will he be able to replace that? And unfortunately, they kind of gave him the worst plot, because he is not connected to any of these characters.
Very true. In fact, that was one of my biggest concerns going into this film was I am a big fan of Steve Rogers, the character of Steve Rogers, and Chris Evans' portrayal of him. Great Captain America, great choice. I wish him well, even though he's coming back to the MCU.
That's right.
In some capacity. But anyways, I thought it's going to be weird seeing a Captain America movie without the Steve Rogers Captain America. I wonder if Anthony Mackie can pull this off. And to his credit, Anthony Mackie did a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they didn't give him the right material.
No, they didn't. They really left him out to dry with like not only just like the script and everything. Like I think Anthony Mackie is a great actor. He's a very charismatic dude. So like he is a great on-screen presence in that way. But they didn't do his character of Sam Wilson any justice by essentially giving him a plot that belongs to Hulk. Like there's no reason for the Falcon to be
That's
here.
a good way to put
like
it.
he doesn't have any connection to any of these characters. Like I don't know if Sam Wilson and like Samuel Stearns or like any of these other characters like have any connection before this. So this movie has to completely set up their entire relationship like all in one movie. Like they have to set it up and then also tear it down and like complicate it like all in one time. And he's like fighting this villain that he doesn't even have a connection to. It's Harrison Ford's character who has the actual connection to him. So at the end of the day, some other review I was watching like said something similar, is that this film should have been for Hulk, should have been a Hulk movie. There's no reason why Red Hulk should be in a Captain America movie. That's wild. But if not Hulk, literally anyone could have been in this movie. Like you could have put most other heroes in this movie, and not necessarily would have been better, but it still would have made as much sense as putting the Falcon in it or the Captain America. Who now?
That makes a lot of sense, and that is a great point. And yeah, the film is a mess.
It's a bit of a mess in that way.
Did you know that there are, I think it's five credited writers
Yes.
in this film?
Yes. So I think that is definitely something worth talking about, is that this movie went through a whole host of like rewrites and reshoots. It had a different title at one point. I don't remember what it was.
It was Captain America New World Order.
That's right, New World Order. But then people were like, has some questionable implications. We're going to change that.
I kind of like it.
I do like it, but
ring to it.
It has a good ring to it, but it has like some like Illuminati, not great background to it.
That's fair.
So they changed it to Brave New World, which is fine. But yeah, it went through so many and one of the things that I noticed going in is that Sidewinder, who was played by what's his name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, Giancarlo Esposito. He seemed like in the movie while I was watching, I was like, he seemed like he was added in at some point. Like I did not understand why his character was here.
Spoiler alert, he was.
Spoiler, he was. Yeah, he was added in some of the reshoots. They were just like, we need some random like villain so Falcon can like fight him. Because the leader, the main villain of this movie, he's not really like a physical villain. Like you're not going to go toe to toe and like fight with him, like punches, kicks, all that good stuff. So I think because they needed more action, they added in Giancarlo Esposito's character, who again, Giancarlo Esposito does a great job, even though post Breaking Bad, he is brought in to play the exact same character every single time. And so he's essentially just playing the classic Giancarlo Esposito villain. Or like if you've seen him play a villain in like anything else, even in like Far Cry, he was like essentially the same villain. He's just the same dude. So he does a fine job. And like their fights are cool. Like I'll say the action in this movie like is pretty decent. But at the end of the day, he's not a memorable character, and it really just seemed like he was just added it in at the last second, and he was.
Darn shame that Disney in general has an issue nowadays with pre-planning storylines in films.
Yes.
Star Wars, I'm looking at you, but we're talking about Marvel, so I will hold that thought for a later time. But yeah, should we talk about what we liked about the film, though?
I guess, there
are some good aspects, some good elements. Right off the bat, Harrison Ford, great job.
He's always great.
He is always great. He picked up a character that I remembered but wasn't totally familiar with, if that makes sense.
He wasn't like super memorable.
He wasn't super memorable. In fact, when I saw the original teaser for the film, this film, Captain America 4, I thought, oh, they're bringing in Harrison Ford. I wonder if this is a new character. And my brother was like, no, he's replacing the guy who, put the Avengers in the raft in Civil War. I was like, oh, that guy. Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
So, but Harrison Ford just made the character his own. He felt original. He felt real. Felt believable. And props to him. They probably just gave him a boatload of money and said, "We want, help. We want you to be the Red Hulk." And he probably said, like, what the
Who's
heck?
that?
Yeah, who's that? What's a Hulk?
Yeah,
but
he does a great job. His performance is great. Like, I like the little callback joke they do to his mustache, where like he's been essentially portraying a younger Thaddeus Ross, and he has like the mustache on. He's like yelling at the screen.
Yes,
do you remember that? That was a good joke.
And then he said, "They told me lose the mustache or lose the election."
Yep, like, that's funny because you have to explain away the fact that he doesn't have a mustache. But yeah, I think Harrison Ford did a great job. I think for the most part, all the performances were pretty solid. Like Harrison Ford did a great job. Sam Wilson, he was really good.
Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon.
Torres, I don't remember who plays him.
I don't remember who plays him either.
But yeah, he did a good job. I don't think of who else was in the movie. But yeah, everyone did a good job. Giancarlo Esposito did a good job.
I have to check my notes. Carl Lumbly plays Isaiah Bradley.
Yes, and he still does a good job. And I think his character is really good, but continues to be woefully unexplored even in this movie.
I detest.
I know we were talking about things we liked, but I do have to touch on this.
I detest that he was introduced in a TV show.
Yes, he was introduced in a TV show.
A lot of people, myself included, would prefer to just watch the movies.
Fair.
And watch a TV show if I want to watch it, but get the full storyline from the films.
Oh my gosh. And the way they introduced his character for like the people who like didn't know who he was in this movie was laughably bad. Do you remember? Because remember in the movie they're like, "Yep, here's Isaiah Bradley. He's the Captain America who was arrested and experimented on for years." And they just kind of laugh, and then they just move on. They kind of laugh it off, like, "Haha, that's crazy. We're just gonna move on."
Yeah, I was sitting next to a friend of mine in the movie theater. I went with John, but we weren't sitting next to each other. But my friend, aloud, just goes, "Well, they're just going to gloss over that."
We're just going to gloss over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, "Yep, I guess we're just moving past that."
Right.
So like, he is genuinely an extremely cool character. Like, I think he's such an important concept. But he's just kind of glazed over. Yep, that's all you get. And then he is like brainwashed, and then like throw him in jail. Homeboy is mistreated. Like they throw him in jail for like
this man is abused.
This man is abused. Like they throw him in jail for like most of the movie. Basically, he is made the motivator for Sam Wilson to basically do anything in this movie.
Right.
Is that like okay? He has to bust his friend out of jail by like proving his innocence essentially, which doesn't really hold up throughout a lot of the movie because at a certain point we have evidence that he's been brainwashed, and Sam Wilson just like kind of forgets that he needs to get his friend out of prison and is like, we're gonna take care of this other thing. I guess I can let my friend rot in prison a little bit longer, even though we have evidence that he's innocent. It's fine. But yeah, I wish we examined his character better at some point. That is all I will say.
What else did I like about this film? Not much.
I'll say the action was good. I think the action was pretty solid.
The CGI
was
meh, and a lot of the action relied on CGI. So
yeah, and the characters themselves were good. Like beyond the actual acting and the portrayals, I think the characters are like fun. Like Harrison Ford's character, very fun. Sam Wilson, Joaquin Torres, I think their like dynamic is really fun. I wish we had more time to explore their dynamic because Joaquin Torres is just kind of like in the movie, and we don't really hear anything about his backstory, like how they met. Or just like anything like that. So, like,
that's in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Is it?
Yeah.
I watched that show, so I probably maybe just forgotten.
Yeah, we meet him in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay, fair. I must have forgotten.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I watched that show a long time ago, and to be fair, it was not one of the best shows. Isaiah Bradley was a highlight of that show. I think that episode is probably the strongest.
We remember him.
I do remember him. Yeah. I did not remember Joaquin Torres, but I think their dynamic is good. I think they're fun. So the only character, and I did not like performance-wise or character-wise, is, I don't remember her name, but her comic name is Sabra.
Was she the former Black Widow?
She was the former Black Widow Israeli girl.
Is the character's name Ruth?
Yeah, Ruth. So
Okay.
in this movie, she's just called Ruth the entire time, but in the comics, her name is Sabra, something like that.
Okay.
And she's known as like a big Israeli kind of like hero character. So I think originally she was supposed to have more of a role in this movie, but then situations in Israel are what they are right now. So Disney was like, we're gonna minimize her character a little bit. And so I don't know for a fact if she got rewritten or anything, but it would explain why she's like kind of in the movie, but like also not really in the movie that much. But regardless of all of that, I don't think her character was very strong in this movie, and I don't think the portrayal was very strong. I like the actress didn't have a lot to work with, but she wasn't doing it for me. I think every time she was on the screen, I was just like, can we get you off the screen and get to the characters that I actually care about? Because I don't really like you that much.
I was indifferent. I didn't really have an opinion.
That's fair.
I mean,
she was definitely the weakest for me, though. Even if she wasn't outwardly bad, she was definitely the weakest.
Totally fair. What did you think of the depiction of the central villain? Checking the notes again. Stearns.
He was fine. I mean, I love Tim Blake Nelson. He is like a fantastic actor. So I'm sad they didn't give him more to work with, because I'm sure if they did, he would have like really gone with it. Like, he's an actor. I don't know if you've seen him in other things. He can like really chew the scenery if you give him like the material. Like, he can really run with the character. Like, he's known for being a great character actor. So I feel like they just like didn't really give him a lot to work with. But for what they did give him, like, I think he was fine. Like, I think he did a good job. I didn't love the villain itself. And we talked about this after the movie as well.
Oh, his probability schemes?
Yeah, his like superpower was like being super smart, but the way they chose to portray that is being like in like weird probability statements where he's like, I knew this was going to happen because it was a 85% chance that you would do this. But anytime he's wrong, he's like, it was 90% chance you would do this. I guess this is the 10% that you wouldn't do it. I'm like, you could just say that for literally anything.
Right.
You could be like, there's a 85% chance that you subscribe to this channel, and then like you don't do it. I'm like, must have been the 15%.
That's right.
And so like it doesn't really make any sense when you think about it. And at the end of the day, I think that wasn't great. His plan was fine. Like, I like the idea of like he's secretly giving Thaddeus Ross these pills, like these gamma radiation pills that are gonna like slowly turn him into the Hulk. And like his plan is to basically like out him to everyone, and like he doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to like destroy his entire like character and like really solidify that his daughter's never going to talk to him. I think that's a cool plan. It's very I know a lot of people mention that this is similar to like Winter Soldier, but I feel like his character is kind of similar to Zemo, because like Zemo's motivation is like very personal from Civil War. Yeah. Okay. So like Zemo's whole motivation is like he's trying to tear the Avengers apart. So similarly, he's trying to tear just like Thaddeus Ross's character apart. And I think that's cool. But again, this villain's main connection is to Thaddeus Ross, not Captain America / the Falcon / Sam Wilson, who like should be the focus of this movie.
Right.
So as a villain, I think he's fine. But like if I'm ranking him amongst the tier list of Marvel villains, he's like C tier.
Did you find that he was defeated too easily?
Didn't he just like give himself in at the end?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't really know why he did that, because I feel like he didn't need to for his plan. He was just like, I'm giving myself up.
I remember it. We watched it happen in the movie, and I remember thinking, "That's it."
Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
And I guess there wasn't really a linchpin or whatever. There wasn't really a good pin to his story. So I'm trying to think was that the last time we saw him? Was just him giving himself in?
We saw him also in the raft in
we do see him in the raft.
post-credit scene when he's warning Sam Wilson of what's to come.
Yeah, because the real climax of the movie like isn't a fight with him; it's a fight with Red Hulk.
Right, which is something he created.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I guess he I don't know why he turned himself in. Like, I remember I'm thinking about this after the movie. I don't think that did anything. Like, I don't think he needed to do that. Could be wrong.
Agreed.
If there is a reason, let us know in the comments. But I don't think there was any reason for him to do that. And then, since we're talking about it, what were your thoughts on the final fight with Red Hulk?
The fight itself was good, but it looked like dated CGI to me.
Yeah,
to
the
be
CGI
quite
wasn't
frank.
great.
And I was left wondering, because on the internet, if you go to like Wikipedia and it says, oh, Harrison Ford performed all the motion capture for Red Hulk.
That's cool.
But I have my doubts.
I can't picture like Harrison Ford is an older man. I feel like he couldn't do all that, but I could be wrong.
I don't think they used motion capture for the Red Hulk, and I know I'm contradicting what Wikipedia says, which
I mean, they could have done it for some of those more like less action scenes where he's just like doing a performance of Hulk, where he's like doing like the more emotional side. So you could have done the motion capture for that. At
maybe
least, like,
for the
face.
facial expressions.
Yeah, the facial expressions. Yeah.
I was underwhelmed by the climactic fight scene.
Yeah.
I don't remember the details of how it ended, but there was a point. Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, right now? Okay.
If you want to, sure.
Yeah, that's one of my issues with it. Is so first of all, what the heck is Captain America / Falcon doing fighting Red Hulk? He would lose instantly. There's no way he's going toe to toe. There's no way he wins this. The Captain America / Falcon cannot beat Red Hulk. He would die immediately. The only thing keeping him alive was like those vibranium wings that apparently
because
Red Hulk,
he's not a super soldier.
He's not a super soldier.
And they even make jokes about or a comment about the fact that I should have taken the serum.
They should have taken the serum. I mean, even then. It would be more believable if he had taken the serum, but even then, he's still not winning. But so basically throughout the entire fight, I'm like, there's no way this fight is ending with like a victory by like a physical victory. The issue is the way the fight ends is by doing it's already incredibly overdone stereotype like meme of this isn't you. Remember your daughter, because at the end of the movie, they're fighting at the cherry blossoms. Where Thaddeus Ross throughout the movie has talked about how one of his favorite things to do with his daughter was go to the cherry blossoms, and it was like a whole thing. So already that ending of the fight is incredibly overdone and like incredibly trite already. Just the idea of like, I'm going to talk to this guy and be like, this isn't you, man. Think about it. But it makes it even worse is because at the beginning of the fight, they lampshade this exact same trope by having Sam Wilson try it and be like, hey man, this isn't you. Remember the flowers. Remember your daughter. And then it doesn't work, and Hulk just like starts beating on him. And he is like, I think he says a line where he's like, dang, I guess that wasn't gonna work. I had to try it though, or whatever.
Yep.
And then he just tries it again like 5 minutes later, and suddenly it works. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it just didn't work the first time, but it worked the second time.
That's new age Marvel for you.
Yeah. So they not only do they lampshade it, but then they just go on to do the exact same thing to end the fight. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Except that time it works.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? You can't make fun of it and then also do it. You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's not how that works. So yeah, I did not enjoy the last fight for that reason.
Do you agree with the and this might be in the comics and I might have been staying faithful to the comics. Do you agree with the fact that Thaddeus Ross had to serve a prison sentence in the raft?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because he was responsible for
yes.
Samuel Stern's evil plan.
Yeah, and I think that is a good character moment for him. Like, I think him being in the raft and like accepting responsibility for his actions, I think that is a solid end to his character arc for the movie. And like the fact that his daughter comes in at the end, which again, if you haven't seen The Incredible Hulk, you will not care about.
I have thoughts.
Like Liv Tyler showing up at the end being like, I'm here.
But did she?
What do you mean?
I will die on this hill until I'm proven wrong.
What is this hill?
Liv Tyler was not in this movie.
What did you think it was? Like AI Liv Tyler?
AI. Listen to her voice on the phone and look at whatever it is they're trying to portray on the screen
as Liv Tyler
in the raft.
You know,
that is AI generated.
I wasn't going to say this because in my brain was just like, I'm probably just overthinking it, but I had the exact same thought when she showed up at the end of the movie. I was like, why does she look... I haven't seen her in a while. She looks fine. Like, she looks great. Assuming that's how she actually looks like. She looks great. You've aged well, Liv Tyler. However, something's off. At least in my brain. When I was watching, I was like, something seems off.
Something was off.
But again, as Colin said, I have no evidence to prove this. So
okay, yes. I have no evidence either, but
this is our rabbit hole.
I was like,
controversy.
That's not Liv Tyler. Like, I am a diehard Lord of the Rings fan.
Theory.
I know what Liv Tyler looks like. That is not Liv Tyler. I don't know what that is.
Dang, the Liv Tyler conspiracy theory. So yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see if anything comes up about it. But I think that's a fine end to his character arc. But going back to Sam Wilson, his character arc, his like big like character arc or question is the idea of like he's just a hero. he's just a guy, right? He doesn't have powers, and he didn't take the serum. And one of the big lines in the movie is that like it's good that you didn't take the serum because you give like the other Captain America who took the serum, he was someone that people could like look up to. Like he was like a sign of hope, like a beacon of hope. Steve Rogers was, but Sam Wilson, because he's just a guy who doesn't have powers. He's someone that you can strive to be. Like he's like a role model, and which I think is fine. But we kind of already did that in the series, so we're just kind of just like redoing his character arc because the whole series was that exact same thing about.
When you say series, are you referring to Falcon and the Winter?
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay, gotcha.
Where he had the exact same character arc of questioning whether or not he wanted to take the serum or not. But then B, so A, we're reusing that plot line, that character arc, which you already did. But B, they don't really do anything with it. Because if they were going to really drive that point home, they should have given him a problem that only he could solve because he's like not a super soldier or something like that. Instead, they give him the Red Hulk, which is perhaps the most super soldier needed enemy you could be going up against, which they even, again, make fun of. So, like, again, this just goes back to his character, like, really doing a disservice in this movie.
You mentioned briefly the comparison that people are drawing between this film and The Winter Soldier. What are your thoughts on that matter?
Honestly, I feel like it's closer to Civil War, but like I see the comparison because both are like political thrillers in a way, where there's like a lot of like political undertones. The only thing I will say is that despite being a political thriller or whatever, this movie has like absolutely nothing to say politically. Like at least Captain America Winter Soldier, there's like a whole question about like authority and like what is our government or like our institutions like actually doing. Like cause there's like the whole like conspiracy going on and all that. And Captain America or Steve Rogers in that movie has to struggle with the idea of the people he's taking orders from, like maybe having like alternative agendas and like this whole thing, which like it has some interesting ideas about politics. Whereas this movie doesn't really tackle anything political ideology wise, which I think is intentional due to the current climate of the world. They're just like, we're not going to say anything controversial because it'll make someone mad. So instead, we're just going to say nothing. And hopefully no one is mad.
Hence the title change.
Hence the title change.
New World Order being changed to Brave New World.
But the result of that is that this is just like the most bland, milquetoast political thriller you could ever have, because like they don't actually say anything about anything.
Yeah.
So you just kind of leave the theater like, that was fun. Good action scenes.
That was fun.
What did I get out of that?
But what was it about?
What was that about? What did I get out of it? Nothing. Do I feel inspired to be like Sam Wilson and like be a human who isn't a super soldier or something? And like, wow, this really speaks to the human condition and like what you can do as just a normal guy. Nope. Nothing. None of that. Also, I'm kind of ranting on it.
Go for it.
But I think my other big beef with the whole like super soldier serum question is that they make a point in the movie that he hasn't taken it. However, he really be doing some super soldier stuff.
No
like,
kidding.
At the beginning of the movie, he's like flying down to the ground full speed, and then like whew, like flips up at the last second, does his little superhero landing. I'm like, his knees are gone, ankles destroyed. Unless he is a super soldier, he has no way he could do that.
He comes across just as agile and strong as Steve Rogers.
Absolutely. Like, if you're gonna have this plot line about him struggling because he doesn't have the super soldier serum, we should see that.
We should see the struggle.
In that first scene, we should be feeling every punch, like every hit he takes. He's like, ooh,
agreed.
He's only a human. He's really feeling this. Unlike Steve Rogers, you could like take every punch and just kind of roll off of it. But throughout the entire movie, we don't really see him struggle that much. Like he gets stabbed with multiple, like he gets hit with multiple knives by Sidewinder.
Right.
Kind of shakes it off. He's fine. Like he's like with the next scenes, we see him like he's just like healed up. Mostly, he got some bandages on, but he's fine.
Yeah.
He's like landing at supersonic speeds. His knees are fine. He's taking hits from the Hulk. Oh, there's a scene when he's fighting Hulk, where Red Hulk is swinging the American flagpole at a bunch of people, and he just stops the flagpole that's being swung by Red Hulk.
Yeah.
And I guess in theory they're like, oh, it's the jet thrusters that's actually like doing the job. His elbows are gone. His wrist's destroyed. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Not only is he a non-super soldier serum, but he's like not a young guy.
This is
He's
true.
not even a human at the peak of his performance. No offense Sam Wilson, or what's the actor's name again?
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. Keep getting everyone's name confused. No offense to Anthony Mackie or Sam Wilson. You're a great looking dude. You look great for your age. However, you're not like Joaquin Torres' age, where you're like in your prime physically. So there's not only is there no way he's stopping a Red Hulk flagpole just because he doesn't have the super soldier serum, but he's also like not even that strong fit for his like just because of how old he is. So it's wild. They really should have stuck with the he is a human thing, but I feel like they just again try to have their cake and eat it too.
Well, they needed somebody to fight the Red Hulk.
They need someone to fight the Red Hulk, and they need to have cool action sequences, which again, I think the action was good. Like, wasn't amazing, but it was good. I was watching, I was like, ooh, wow, cool scenes.
Sure.
And I think they did a good job choreographing his action. Like, everything.
Okay,
everything
that's fair, yeah, definitely.
Like, I think the one thing they did do in terms of, like, doing justice to his character is that a lot of his action scenes were things only he could do as the Falcon. Like, Red Wing was involved a lot. And like the choreo he was doing with like his flying and his like turns and using his wings, that was all really cool, and it was clearly very him. So I think they did a good job with that. But like, so I think that's just like overall, just the issue with this movie. Surface level, I think it looks good, and even surface level, they did justice to his character just by like the choreography of the fights and that kind of thing. But if you go any level deeper than just the surface, everything just kind of starts falling apart. Mic drop.
Can I go on my rant now?
Go ahead. Go. Your turn for the rant.
You know what I'm going to talk about.
Is it going to be the intro?
So, for as long as I can remember, I'd go into the movie theater to see an MCU film, and there would be the Marvel intro, where it started out as just the comic strips flying by on the screen and the word Marvel Studios overlaying it. And then it eventually transitioned into a much more animated intro where they included music, a very, very good score by Alan Silvestri, I believe. And they would show you moments from movies past and characters that we remember: Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. And it would just put me in the mood to watch a Marvel movie. They got rid of it.
Where is it?
They got rid of the Marvel intro for this movie, presumably for future films as well. And safe to say, within the first 30 seconds of this film,
Colin was already checked out.
First 30 seconds of watching this film, I was not in the mood to watch a Marvel film.
He wasn't there. He wasn't put in the mood.
I am so OCD about consistency. Marvel has dropped the ball with consistency
Colin
now.
loves the motif.
And I could not be more unhappy about it.
That's fair. I do not share the same passion you have for this intro, but I understand.
Some people, I've like gone on Reddit and looked up, what people are saying about it, and some fans are like, "Oh, I guess it's just a rebranding, like a soft rebranding of the franchise." But I'm like, no, you're losing consistency.
Of all the things Disney/Marvel need to change about the MCU, that's not one of them.
The title
that should
sequence,
not even be close to the top of your
intro
list.
is iconic.
It is iconic. It's true.
The music, the imagery.
Well, this is the first time. Maybe they'll change it back for the next movie.
But it's too late.
Oh, it's too late.
If they change it back for the next film, we'll have one film in the entire MCU that doesn't have the classic intro.
That's fair.
And that's going to drive me insane for the rest of my life.
MCU it's ruined.
I'd rather them drop it permanently from this point on, but I just wish they hadn't made that decision.
My last good thing I want to say about this movie, and I feel like then we can probably start wrapping up. Bucky was in it.
He was.
For like 5 seconds.
And he was not AI.
And he was great. He should have been in the movie more. I love you. Sebastian Stan, if you're watching, first of all, I love you.
Do you think it's a good idea for the character of Bucky to run for Congress?
I was going to say that. They mentioned that he's running. Is it Congress? It was like he's running for like Senate or something.
He'll be running probably for like a representative.
Yeah. I have no idea. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if I missed something in one of the movies or the shows, if they've mentioned that before. But yeah, it seems like a strange idea. I feel like no, I don't want to get political on this podcast. I was gonna say, who's gonna vote for a man who like has killed multiple people in the past as an assassin? But who knows? That's all I'm gonna say.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. But yeah, I loved his little cameo because I love Sebastian Stan. B, I love Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie together, because like not only do their characters in the MCU are they really good together, but like out of character, the actors are really cute together. The classic little pow 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 pow. So anytime I see them on screen together, I'm happy. So I wish he was in it more, but I understand, we need to have Sam Wilson, the Falcon, Captain America, have his own movie. But I was very happy when he showed up. And then that was it. Shout out to Bucky. I love you.
Should we go ahead and rate the film?
Yeah, let's do it. So I feel like post me seeing this movie, I gave it a 5 out of 10. However, post me talking about it now and like thinking about it more, I'm inclined to go 4. So I'm going to compromise and say like 4.5.
4.5. Okay.
Because at the end, I think it is just a pretty average kind of movie, which is at like 5.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
And I think I'm inclined to agree. I've probably already said this. I walked out of the theater neither excited, thrilled, or disappointed because I had, basically zero expectations. But after discussing it more with you here and listening to Nick's take on the film, I'm going to go down to 4.
Okay.
It's just too much of a mess.
Yeah, I feel like, especially now that I've talked through like more of the ideas of how they failed Sam Wilson's character, I think a 4 is better. Because like Leaving, I feel like it was kind of average, but now thinking about it a little bit deeper, I think it did do more things wrong than it did right. So yeah, I think 4. I will also solidify in as a 4.
What's this? We're giving an MCU film a 4?
Which, Captain America 4.
What world are we living in?
Yeah, it's wild. Well, to be fair, I think this is still better than other movies we've gotten so far in this run. But yeah.
Can we, real quick, because we went over all the movies from or since Endgame, can we, in this Saga Session, real quick, just say what our least favorite Marvel film is?
Of all time or since Endgame?
Since Endgame.
That's a good question. I haven't seen the Marvel, so I can't say that. Oh, it's probably Ant-Man 3.
Really?
Ant-Man 3 is... Oh, wait, the Black Widow also exists.
I was going to say Black Widow.
It might be Black Widow.
I feel like Black Widow, unfortunately, set the tone for post-Endgame Marvel.
Because you're saying Black Widow and I want to be different, I will say Ant-Man 3, because I really didn't like it. Quantumania, yeah. It was really bad. Plus, not only was it bad, it also now means nothing, because Kang is basically just not going to be in anything anymore.
So they're not even going to recast the character?
I don't think so. I mean, they might. It seems like they're rebranding and going with like Doctor Strange. They're going with Doctor Doom instead as the main villain, which is why we have like the RDJ coming back. So it seems like they're dropping the Kang and going straight to Secret Wars, kind of like Doctor Doom as the main villain of everything. But we really don't know. Because it seems like before, Kang is a villain for a different comic plotline that I'm forgetting the name of. But I feel like they're just skipping that now because of the actor.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's going on in MCU and what's going on under all their plans. All I do know is that Fantastic Four, which is the next movie that's coming out Thunderbolts is coming out.
Thunderbolts is coming out,
but
Fantastic Four is the first film in Phase 6.
Is it the first one in Phase 6?
Yes.
Great. Fantastic Four, that MCU, that is your last hope. Fantastic Four First Steps has to slap. It has to be at least an 8 out of 10, or I think it's all going under. I think that's it.
Fair assessment.
I think Fantastic Four has, especially because if they nail Fantastic Four, you can go so many places with it. If you fail that, again, because like Fantastic Four has had so many bad adaptations, I feel like that just like I think it's over. I don't mean not over, but I think that might be the ending point for me. Where
it might be irreparable at that point.
Yeah, because Fantastic Four, going into this movie, I knew it was going to be pretty mid to bad. But Fantastic Four, I have high expectations for, and going into that movie, it needs to nail it. It needs to be good, or else that might be it for me.
We're checking out.
So stay tuned for whenever that movie comes out. I'm sure we'll be here to talk about it, and hopefully we're going to be here hype and talking about how it's like a 10 out of 10 film.
I hope so.
But I love the Fantastic Four, and the movie does look really good. I don't know. They need to nail it. I'm just gonna leave it at that. They need to
All
nail
right.
it. They need to nail it.
Well, in regards to Captain America Brave New World, John gives it a 4.5. I give it a 4. Thank you for attending this Saga session. John and I will be back because Daredevil Born Again is coming. So stay tuned for that, guys. See you again soon.